All right, guys, this is Wednesday's Phase 7 program. Chaos is back. And when we say chaos, we say traditional chaos. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to move from station to station to station using our chaos rep range. If you don't know what our chaos rep range is, it means we're going to go from 24 down to 6 by 3s. So we're going to go 24, 21, whatever, 18, 15, all the way down to 6, right? So that's first exercise. Like we're next day right now. That'd be exercise number 1. Exercise number 2, they'd actually start at 6 and work their way up. So conceptually, the idea here is as 3 of the exercises go down in reps, 3 of the exercises go up in rep range. So what this does, it keeps the heart rate elevated because as the workload decreases on one, it increases on the other. So the heart rate should honestly stay in yellow pretty much the entire circuit as we go around. So it's going to be very important to make sure that when you're working with me or Nathan or even Nick, to make sure you guys really understand how chaos is explained and you get how the rep range works. It'll be written up on the board, but really take your time on chaos. It's probably one of the more confusing programs we teach. Nick's going to go through and teach us the different modifications of each exercise.
All right, so the first one we're going to have is going to be over here by the plates. It's going to be plate down to overhead. So first thing you're going to do, grab a plate. You're going to have the hips back and have the plate touching the ground. With this one, you really just want to make sure the hips are back. They're keeping them back pretty much flat on this one. And then you want to make sure their thumbs are facing away from them. Some people will start like this or have their hands like this. But you want to make sure their thumbs are facing away on the outside of the plate. Then what they're going to do, they're going to snap their hips forward. So snap the hips forward, bring the plate up overhead. So snap the hips overhead. Back down, touch the ground, snap the hips overhead, touch the ground, going continuously with that. A couple things that are really important, you do want to make sure they're touching the ground every time, so we want them to get all the way down in this position. We want to go quick with these, so the biggest thing is trying to encourage people to go quick. Snap the hips in one fluid movement going overhead, and then we also want to keep the weight close, so we don't want people swinging it out here, we want it close, rotating, going up overhead. And then like I said, really going quick, some people will go like this and then press it. We don't want that. We want it down, one fluid movement overhead, back down, fluid movement overhead. So if someone has shoulder issues, we give a modification for them. They will just do plate ground to chest, so it's almost the same, but they're just going to go up like this, not overhead. But same thing, going quick, rotating the plate up right in front of their chest here. But again, going quick is big for this one.
So that will be rep range number 20. We'll start out with 24 there. Then they're going to move. As soon as they're done with 24 reps, they're going to come over here and they're going to do 6 reps at station number 2.
So station number 2, we're going to have bootstrappers. So for this, we are weighting it. They're going to have the kettlebell right here, squat down into this deep squat position, and then elbows are going to be inside of their knees. Then what they're doing, just drive their hips up and back down. Pretty simple, but a couple things that are really important. We want to make sure they aren't swinging the weight. Some people tend to swing it, so tell them to keep it pretty close to their body. And then we also want to make sure people aren't standing up like this. That happens to new people a lot. They tend to stand up rather than driving their hips up. So what we want is hips up, back down, just like this. All right, so if people have trouble with that, we can do step-ups as a modification, a little bit easier. For this, people with knee issues should probably need to do this one, or if they can't get in that squat position, just going up and down, just going alternating sides. On this one, again, this should be really only if people have knee issues. Otherwise, they should be able to do the grinders over here.
All right, so then this one we're coming back to 24 reps again.
Is this slam?
Yep.
Okay, so for this one, we're going to have nice ball slams. Pretty much everyone should be able to do this one. We don't have any modifications. We'll have a couple different weight of balls, but everyone should be able to do this movie. So what they're going to do, they're going to have the weight go overhead. They're just slamming it down as hard as they can, and then squatting to pick it up. So overhead, slamming it, squatting every time to pick it up. One thing that's really important, like I said, is squatting to pick it up. So we do not want people to slam it and then bend their back over, especially with this many reps. We don't want to cause any back issues, so make sure they're squatting every time, not rounding the back, and then just slamming it as hard as they can over here. Like I said, there are no modifications. Everyone should be able to do this movement over here.
The one thing with that one is if you do have somebody that has knee issues, they might have to do bend over, but if they do, try to keep their weight a little bit lighter than the heavier weight should be squatted. If they're not squatting, they probably need a little bit lighter weight, so it's a little bit less load. So now we're coming back to 6 reps here.
All right, so this one we're going to have band thrusters, so we're going to have a bunch of different weights for a bunch of different bands. We'll have black and red, possibly some other weights. What they're going to do, have their hands right underneath the band, feet right about shoulder width. Then what they're doing, they're going all the way down in the squat and then pressing up overhead. So you're gonna go down all the way, up overhead, down, overhead, going pretty quick with these. Couple things, we wanna make sure they're getting all the way down in the squat, so all the way down in this position, and then we wanna press up in one fluid movement, all the way up overhead, arms covering up the ears is a good way to remember to get them in this position. We do wanna make sure people aren't pressing in front of them, or arching their back when they press, or kind of anything like that. So right up overhead, and then we want people to go all the way overhead. We don't want them partial. All right. One tip I do like to give people, if they're having the band rub against their arms, especially since we're doing so many of these, go a little bit wider with their grip. Then the band tends to not rub as much. We don't want to go super wide, but a little bit wider does help a little bit with that. If you have someone that cannot go overhead, we do a modification. Then we're just going to do band squats. So just down and up. This would be only if they can't go overhead. And then if they can't squat, we're just gonna have band shoulder press. So all the way overhead, just like this. So we're basically taking out the portion of the movement that they can't do. So if they can't squat, go overhead. If they can't go overhead, just the squats. Otherwise, we're doing one fluid movement for this one. All right, then next thing we do over here.
All right, this one's gonna be 24 reps. We went from 6 back to 24.
Alright, so for this one, they're going to have slider knee tucks. So first thing, get in the sliders and our toes right in the middle of the sliders. Then we're going to be in a nice long plank position here. Then for this, we're going to go under control, bring both of our knees in at the same time. So both of our knees in, right about at 90 degrees, then back out. Both our knees in, back out. They can go a little faster, but we want to keep them under control. A couple things that people tend to do that we don't want them to do. We don't want them going like this, sticking their butt up in the air, and then we don't want people bringing their knees really far forward, because then they're actually really resting on their feet, not really using that core at all. So we don't want people going up like this. We want them to go right about, just like this, right about to 90 degrees, and then back out, just like this. Now, if someone has trouble with that, they get rid of the sliders and do mountain climbers. It's a little bit easier. Just like this, alternating their legs. So this would be if they have trouble with the slider knee tucks. And then if they still have trouble, this could be possibly people who are a little overweight, or possibly people with wrist issues as well. They can come over by a bench, do mountain climbers on an incline. So a little bit easier. Like I said, this would be for people that are a little overweight, possibly, or just have trouble with the position or any wrist issues, things like that. And that is all the exercise for this station.
So if they have on that station there, if they're doing the mountain climber variation, it's going to be 24 per leg, because these people are going to be moving through things pretty quickly. So we want to make sure that this circuit lasts long. So we actually 24 per leg if they're not doing the slider one. So from here, Nick would actually go back to station number 1 again. And so then he went back to station number 1, which is ground overhead in chaos. So he'd go ground overhead, then he'd be doing 21 reps of it, right? And then we'll come back over here and do 9 reps and keep moving through that circuit. So make sure you guys understand that side.